is Dwight Yoshimoto. I'm 67 years old. I was born and raised my formative years Damon Track, which is in the industrial area by the Honolulu airport. So, and we were actually evicted from Damon Track, and that prompted my experience to get involved with Kokua Hawaii and Kalama Valley. We actually have relatives that were pig farmers in Kalama Valley, so that also played a part of it. So raised my first 9 years, I believe, Damon Track, and then moved to Kali, forced to move to Kali, and went on to Fern School, Dole School, graduated from Farrington High School in 1968. Then I went to the University of Hawaii. It took me 7 years to graduate, but I did graduate with a degree in marketing. My parents were Yasuhide and Fumiko Yoshimoto. My dad was from Paia, Maui, and his parents were independent pineapple growers in Paia, Maui. And my mom is from Honolulu Camp on the Big Island. So both parents and grandparents were plantation families. And then when my mom and dad met in Honolulu, got married and raised, I'm one of 5 children. So my dad and my paternal grandfather, Kalama Yoshimoto, had an egg farm in Damon Track. So that was the formative years. Damon Track, low income to, I don't think even middle income, but primarily plantation family. There's a lot of truck farmers, and we were one of a number of chicken or egg farmers primarily in Damon Track. So Damon Track, as I mentioned, is the area below Nimitz Highway. It straddles Honolulu International Airport. So those were really fun years, carefree life. Again, most of the families were from the plantation, so free and clear life. We had a lot of fun, you know, playing, making your own toys,
like what?
And you know, making your own tops, partaking of various parts to make your own bikes. We used to play water rockets, you know, marbles, playing with horse piss. We made our own water guns with what's called we called it horse piss, but it's actually a dragon African tulip, so which had a scent. And because we're on the egg farm, we had a lot of rotten egg fights. So yeah, a lot of fun growing up. And mostly, obviously, it was a lot of friends that I grew up with actually moved on to Kali and became my classmates at Dole School and Farrington. A lot of them moved on to countryside. So Damon Track was a wonderful place to live. One of the reasons why I got involved was because Damon Track actually was owned by Damon Estate, and then sold in 1956, I believe, to K.J. Luke and Clarence T.C. Ching, the founders of Hawaii National Bank. When it was sold in 1956, it was considered the greatest land grab in the state of Hawaii. They bought 233 acres, I believe, from the Damon Estate. Which was valued at $4.5 million, but they only paid $100,000 down. So that was considered the greatest land grab in the state of Hawaii. In later years, I found out that Bishop Estate and Samuel Mills Damon had a connection. Samuel Mills Damon, the founder of Damon Estate, was actually a trustee for Bishop Estate, and he was an advisor to Princess Pauahi Bishop. And Damon Estate was, I think, the 4th largest private landowner. They got a lot of the land because Damon was a descendant of the missionary family. You know, come to do good, and they did well, as they said, the missionaries. Damon did very well. You know, when in later years at the university, when I learned more about Damon Estate and Damon Tract, again, that's what I learned about the land grab. So Damon Tract, again, there are hundreds of families there, and we were actually the last family to leave Damon Tract because my grandfather, Kalama Yoshimoto, was actually the head gardener for the Damon Estate, which was on Red Hill. So that was my most vivid memory of Damon Tract. It was a ghost town. We were the last family to leave Damon Tract. Everybody else had left, and so we were the only ones. In summer of '58, then we relocated to Kalihi. So we were very fortunate that they allowed us, because my grandfather and father wanted to keep the egg business, but at that time, you know, the choices were either Kalama Valley, you know, as a coincidence, or Waianae, and that it just didn't make economic sense to relocate the egg farm to either Kalama Valley or Waianae. So they got out of the egg business, and then my dad eventually became an elevator mechanic. So yeah, they left farming again because of the forced eviction.
You moved to Kalihi
Right.
Valley.
Well, yeah, below Kalihi, but yeah, it was shocking because, you know, we had a 2-story, I think said 6-bedroom farmhouse, and then we moved into a 3-bedroom. I think I look at it as a shack compared to the farmhouse. So yeah, quite an experience. And you know, we had a half-an-acre farm, and moved into, you know, a very small house, small
Sort of
lot.
tenement
Yeah.
or something?
Yep. Yep.
Whereabouts? In the lower part?
Oeni Lane, so it was between School Street and Rose Street. So yeah, big change. I remember the first day of school. You know, Damon Tract was fun. Everybody got along. No fights that I can remember.
Can you describe the racial backgrounds of the people there, the kind of family?
Damon Tract was, you know, there's a lot of Hawaiians, a lot of Portuguese as we say, Chinese and Japanese families. So it was a broad mix, and again, mostly lower income and farmers, because it was at that time in the early and mid-50s as a rural community, a farming community. So yeah, a lot of fun, you know, not good, but we used to play Chase Master, you know, after the mosquito truck. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, nobody fought, but I remember the first day of school in my 3rd grade at Fern School, I got false cracked by a tomboy, and you know, never fought back because we didn't fight. So because of that, my dad took me the next day to enroll in judo at Kalihi YMCA. Said, you got to learn now to protect yourself. We live in Kalihi now. This is not Damon Tract. So yeah, quite an experience moving from Damon Tract to Kalihi. Different lifestyle, different friends. So one of the friends we made in elementary school was the Casimeros.
Oh.
So I grew up Roland and Ethewin. She's gonna pound me for saying it. Kanoi or Tootsie. Ethewin is her real name, and we grew up with Roland, Robert, and Kanoi Casimeros were good friends. We used to play with them. I remember playing music with them, and in Dare Street, Palena Lane was also Zulu. So Zulu, so it was a very fun time. A lot of people. So Oweni Lane was close to Kuhio Homes and KPT. That was part of the neighborhood. So yeah, you know, again, the socio-economic classes were low income. Yeah, so a lot of fun. You know, other than the first day of school, you know, new kid in town, so to speak. Yeah, no fun, but eventually made a lot of friends. Yeah.
you were 67 Farrington grad.
68
Oh.
Farrington grad, so yeah, Fern School, Dole School, and then Farrington. I'd say standard for Kali, you know, we played a lot of sports, you know, street sports, and then I was active in judo for quite a while, up until 8th grade, and then I started playing baseball and basketball, you know, for Kalakaua AC, and played in the band. So that was always part of, you know, the middle school experience. You pretty much had to play in the band. And so, you know, that's where I made a lot of the friends. And, you know, we formed, in those eras, YMCA club, a social club. So that was a big part of Dole School in Farrington. Our club was called the Marauders. And we were, you know, in all modesty aside, we're probably the most popular club on the island. We used to have 6 socials a month.
Wow.
The YMCA policy was 3. As far as Farrington, I was really involved with Key Club, which is, you know, sponsored by the Kiwanis Club. So I got very active in my sophomore year and saw the opportunity. So because of Key Club, I got into a leadership role. Through Key Club, I was able to travel a lot, travel to the neighbor islands. I went to California as a delegate. I was the first delegate from Hawaii to actually attend a national convention, which was in Louisville, Kentucky in 1967. So a lot of firsts. When I was at Farrington, I was president my senior year. You know, we did a lot of work, so we were very active, and we did a lot for the community and the school. So I was always active, you know, and you know, that continued on at UH. So at UH, I got involved with a fraternity. But you know, at UH, that's when I first joined or enrolled. That was the start of the Vietnam War. I'd have to admit that because of Key Club, and I was also very active at church with Kali Union in high school. So my thinking at that time was, when I first went to University of Hawaii, I was all for the Vietnam War. I truly believe communism was bad, and until I went to the University of Hawaii and started getting educated, started attending some of the anti-war rallies, and started learning more, I was all for the Vietnam War until I learned more about it. Yeah, and that started the activism, if you will, of learning more about you know, cultural nationalism. And divide and conquer policies of American politics, and yeah, that's why I became more active politically. I was not a member of the SDS, but you know, we were involved with the anti-war rallies, and I remember a lot of parties, toga parties, of course, really like Animal House, but you know, the anti-war movement was very active at the University of Hawaii, and you couldn't avoid it. You know, there was always something happening in freshman, sophomore year. So, you know, it's something if it's there, you should at least learn something about it, and that's where, you know, we got education. So I think the first time I went to Oliver Lee was involved, and I remember the rhetoric, obviously, didn't believe it. So, you know, I read more, and I began to understand the true facts about the Vietnam War. Yeah.
So you mentioned cultural nationalism. I think
Right.
that's what you said.
Right.
Can you kind of explain what that meant, and what was the how would that translate into you're actually getting involved, or what particularities?
Well, you know, part of it was, again, Damon Track. You know, one of my experiences at Damon Track, that when I went to college, I reflected back on was, I remember this girl, Barbara Sue, who was actually Japanese, and I remember this was second grade, you know, wanting to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and I remember her grandparents asking me, oh yeah, what nationality are you? And I said, Okinawan. And for some reason, that ended it. So even at that time, there was a division between regular Japanese and Okinawan. So I didn't realize that at that time until I went to the University of Hawaii. And so I started learning about culture. And then I said, aha, that was like an aha moment. Now I understand why the next day I couldn't see Barbara Sue. She said her grandparents banned her from seeing me, and said, you know, because my parents never told me about the divisiveness between regular Japanese and Okinawans. You know, I remember being teased about butakau, but my grandparents and parents never told me that's the derogatory things that the regular Japanese kids used to tease Okinawan kids about, because a lot of Okinawan were pig farmers. So yeah, we were teased butakau, but I never, because my parents and grandparents never explained to me that that was a, you know, derogatory term. It never dawned on me until University of Hawaii. Then I began to understand, yeah, even between Japanese and Okinawans, there's, you know, there's some divisiveness.
So both of your parents were Okinawan?
Okinawan, 100% Okinawan, Uchinanchu,
wow.
right? So yeah, you know, again, you know, they protected us, protected all of the children. So I didn't understand that until I started taking ethnic studies programs at the University of Hawaii, and that explained a lot of things, you know.
What classes did you take in ethnic studies?
The basic ones was Japanese American, obviously, the first class.
Do you remember
So,
who was the instructor?
yeah, Dennis Ogawa,
Dennis Ogawa
was one of them, and you know, he was again, you know, part of Dennis that was kind of strange was, you know, he was a katonk, as we call him, from LA. So I know Dennis really had to fight for his credibility with us local Japanese and Okinawans, you know, teaching ethnic studies. And of course Larry was part of it too. I think first it was Department of Religion, if I recall correctly, and then eventually ethnic studies. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you know, it's turbulent 60s. You couldn't avoid it on campus. It was so active, you know, demonstrations virtually every day. So, you know, it's part of it, yeah, part of the learning experience.
How did you get involved with Kalama Valley?
Well, yeah, I grew on.
Can you talk about your earliest kind of you know, connection?
Yeah,
What
you know, again, at that time, when you look at the war movement at the University of Hawaii, was primarily Haoles, you know, mainland Haoles, and you know, while I was against the war, you know, I just couldn't get along. They, you know, they were too confrontational. I mean, which you kind of had to be, but on the other hand, it wasn't local style, if you will. So while I supported the anti-war movement, I couldn't see myself becoming, you know, part of the students of for the Democratic Society. You know, I was always on the periphery. So when Kalama Valley came along, obviously it struck a chord. It was, you know, a local struggle of farmers against Bishop Estate, you know, which I had experience with, you know, again because of Damon Estate and eviction. So and because we were evicted as farmers, that struck a chord, and that's why I got involved with Kalama Valley. Yeah.
So what was the initial kind of connection that you got? I mean, did you just hear that something was going on, or was there like a demonstration on campus, or maybe a friend got
I
you
think
involved?
if I recall correctly, yeah, there was there was like an informational meeting on campus, and
Do you remember who was there?
yeah, I remember being there, and Alapai and I was there, you know, Abreu. So, you know, we were active. Also, Alapai was a disc jockey for KTUH, and you know, our freshman year we were actually part of the campus center board and the music committee. So we were always trying to get involved somehow. So Al and I remember we did. We were actually the promoters for the Steve Miller Band at the Andrews Amphitheater. So that was the first rock concert, and Al and I were the promoters for that concert as part of the music committee. And you know, so Al and I were always trying to get involved with something on campus, and so we went to a meeting about George Santos, the pig farmer in Kalama Valley, and then we were invited. You know, they were all friendly local people and say, yeah, come on down to Kalama Valley, visit George, check it out, you know, and see if it's something you want to be involved in. And so yeah, Al and I made the drive down to Kalama Valley, and like I said, I used to visit Kalama Valley as a child because we had relatives there as farmers. So I remember Kalama Valley being very hot, arid, the smells of the pig farm, of the chicken farm. So yeah, brought back a lot of memories and struck a chord, obviously, because George was being evicted, and again, because we experienced being evicted from Damon Track. Just wanted me to get involved, and Al is, you know, that's why he got involved too. Local people, local struggles, self-determination, right? It was, Kalama Valley was interesting because when we got involved in the whole thing about self-determination, it was a struggle. You know, at that time, again, we were learning about at the university, you know, the Cultural Revolution in China, and Chairman Mao with the small red book, which we studied at the University of Hawaii. So, you know, you know, the aspect of cultural nationalism came up. So when we first got involved in Kalama Valley, it was also a struggle between Hawaiians, and Abreu is 100% Portuguese, I'm 100% Okinawan. There was a struggle about if only Hawaiians should be involved, and there was a lot of meetings about that. But eventually it was determined that as long as you were born and raised here in Hawaii, you don't have to be a Hawaiian in blood, but if you're Hawaiian in heart and in your intent, then you should be involved. But we had a lot of meetings. There was a lot of unfortunate and heated meetings about, no, Kalama Valley should only be about Hawaiians because we're fighting the Bishop Estate. But that's a contradiction too, because George Santos was a Portuguese pig farmer. He wasn't, you know, I think he was part Hawaiian, but you know, George Santos is primarily Portuguese. So, you know, we had a lot of struggles, but it was determined, yeah, as long as you're born and raised here, you're Hawaiian, you know, and what you want to do is Hawaiian. So, you know, eventually there were some hard-headed Native Hawaiian that did not continue in the struggle, but most of them realized that that was the position to take. You know, you fight Bishop Estate, and everybody's impacted by Bishop Estate, not just Native Hawaiians. Yeah, the enemy was Bishop Estate.
So it became more of a, there was a sort of nationalist kind of thing, but also it became more of a class thing then.
Right. Yeah, you know, it's class, because again, part of it is with the Native Hawaiians, you don't want, at that time, you don't want to fight the Bishop Estate, because, you know, you're talking Kamehameha schools, you know, Cam School in my day, and, you know, you're fighting their right to make income to support Kamehameha schools. So, you know, it was a very divided issue among the Native Hawaiian community. Tough issue because they were, you know, Kalama Valley was really the first land struggle after Damon Track. You know, Damon Track was actually, I learned later, was actually a major case, but nobody really fought it, you know. So our struggle in Kalama Valley is recognized as the first land struggle, you know, since statehood. Right, where people actively fought either the state government or Bishop Estate. So Kalama Valley is recognized as the first, you know, land struggle since statehood.
Yeah, there seems to be like a real, some of the Native Hawaiian activists who went against the Bishop Estate. You know, a lot of them went to Kamehameha schools, right?
Right.
Larry,
Right.
Kamakawiwo'ole, Pete
Right.
Thompson, so in some ways they had to take a position, right?
Right.
They kind of saw that
Sure.
Bishop Estate was really the culprit.
Well, you know, the thing as you learn about Bishop Estate is, you know, they use Kamehameha School as a guise to justify a lot of their business decisions. But when you look at what the trustees were making, that's ridiculous. Those trustees were making over $1 million a year, each trustee. So how can you justify, you know, saying that the income is going to the school when the trustees are making over $1 million? Now I think they're making 100,000, right? But that was one of the points that we're fighting is, yeah, if your main focus is to make income for Kamehameha schools, why are you paying these trustees over $1 million each? That income should be going to the schools, not to the trustees.
To children.
Right. It should be going to educate the children, not line the pockets of the trustees.
So what was your role in the Kalama Valley struggle? You said that you talked to, you got a connection with George Santos. Did you help him on the farm?
Well, yeah, I think all of us, we had to till the land. You know, again, you know, we tried to be self-sufficient, you know, so we tried to grow crops, but it was very arid, very difficult, not productive soil, you know, without fertilizer. But, you know, fortunately we had a lot of fertilizer because of the pig farm. But so, you know, some of us were all assigned tasks. I was still going to UH at that time, so I would do some outreach, you know, on campus and try to educate students and get more support for Kalama Valley. And actually the ironic thing was when May 5th happened, when the arrest happened, I was actually on campus in class. I think even Abreu and I were actually in class when the arrest came down. So when we heard about the arrest, we tried to sneak in, but you know the cops had already blocked all of the entrances, the back side of Kalama Valley, the front side of Kalama Valley, so we couldn't sneak in. So we weren't officially arrested. We didn't have that badge. Yeah.
So, but a lot of the work that you did was, you said the outreach. So you were bringing the educating the universities and the community and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And you were going into Kalama Valley too, right? I mean,
oh yeah. We're still active. So when we actually formally organized after the arrest, that's, you know, we had to get legal funds and raise money. So you know, that's when we had. I think we formed Kokua, the newspaper, so Rick Catania and Claire were the editors, and then we organized the first Hulikako concerts. So Al and I were actually the talent guys, because you know Abreu was a KTUH disc jockey, so he had a lot of contacts with the musicians. So Al and I were actually the point people to secure the talent for Hulikako, and actually I was the major fund guy for Huli Kako. I came up with the money out of my own pocket for the rental of the amphitheater and the shell. Yeah, the first Huli Kako was in 1970, I believe, and we had two, kind of vague, but again, it was difficult getting musicians because a lot of them were pro Kamehameha or Bishop Estate. So the first thing a lot of times was we had to educate the musicians that you know, we're not so much anti-Bishop Estate as we're against the land policy and the business practices of Bishop Estate. Again, forcing evictions and under the guise of, you know, providing income for the school while they're giving the trustees $1 million each. You know, the trustees were actually doing these forced evictions so they could make $1 million a year each. You know, that were, you know, if they were doing it really for the benefit of the keiki, of the students of Kamehameha, they shouldn't have been making that kind of money. You know, so and a lot of the musicians were shocked that to learn that the trustees were making so much money. And so we were able to, you know, the part of the process of recruiting musicians was educating the musicians that, hey, did you know that the trustees are making this much money? This money should be going to support the school, not the trustees. So, you know, you win some and lose some. But we got Anti-Genoa Keawe, the Sons of Hawaii, Sunday Manoa, I think Gary Eichel, who's, you know, Anti-Genoa's son. And we got Hui Ohana. So we had major Hawaiian musicians and talent to perform for us. So it was difficult, but learning process. So
where did it take place?
the first one was Andrews Amphitheater, and then the second one was at Waikiki. Part of it, you know, Anti-Genoa was a really hard sell because, but once she became on board, and then she was the one, that was one of the proudest moments for Abreu and I, that said, you know, Abreu, you 100% Portuguese, Dwight, you 100% Okinawan, but as far as I'm concerned, you 100% Hawaiian. So when we're recruiting her, that made us really happy, you know, because we were telling her again, oh yeah, even within Kokua Hawaii, there's a struggle, but the 2-point people for talent is non-Hawaiians. It's Abreu and I. Yeah. So it's a good. Oh yeah. Again, yeah, we're local, native, you know, Hawaiian at heart. Yeah. A lot of fun, a lot of disappointments, but yeah, it was a big struggle. But you know, we made a lot of money. Yeah.
And so the purpose of the Huli Kako was to make money, or also to maybe to.
Well, the purpose was to obviously to fund the ongoing activities, but also provide as a legal fund, you know, for the defense of all the people that got arrested in Kalama Valley. So paid for the. Although I recall, I know Herb Takahashi and some of the other lawyers did it pro bono, but obviously, you know, we needed to pay some of their legal fees. Yeah. So. But it was, you know, basically to help to fund the ongoing activities for Kokua Hawaii, the newspaper, educational projects that we're doing, the travel. We did travel to organize communities in Kauai with Neoli'i, Miloli'i, the fishermen on the Big Island. There was Kona evictions, so you know we needed to get money for travel expenses to expand the reach of Kokua Hawaii and the movement of Kokua Hawaii. I think, you know, upon reflection again, so this is the early 70s, and I think when you look back at Kokua Hawaii and the movement, one of the things that I know we can take credit for is helping save the Ethnic Studies Department at the University of Hawaii. We played a critical role in ensuring that the Ethnic Studies program survived. So we help with that aspect. I think if you talk to some of the local movement guys, they recognize Kokua Hawaii as helping give birth to their consciousness, protect Kaho'olawe. Some of those, I know they came to us and wanted us to become involved, but the leadership on both sides for whatever reason just couldn't get together. But we help foster, if you will, Kaho'olawe, that movement, and we were critical to Ota Camp and Kapalama Track 57, I believe, to Milo Nikoli'i on Kauai. A lot of the land struggles in Waihole, Waikani were because of what we did in Kalama Valley. Again, I mentioned Miloli'i on the Big Island and Kona. And there are tracks on Maui, again, because we fought Bishop Estate. We helped inspire and foster the land struggles on the neighbor islands. And part of it, again, I think through our concerts, we were helpful to help foster the Hawaiian Renaissance. I mean, if you talk to, again, I grew up with Roland and Robert. If you talk to them and they tell you their experience of performing at Hulikako.
So they were involved too.
Yeah, they were involved too. They started recognizing, and they're Kamehameha grads, but they didn't realize, again, the trustees were making that kind of money. So I think we raised the consciousness of the Hawaiian community, and I know for a fact that if you talk to them, they give us credit for helping, really giving birth to the Hawaiian movement. So that's, I think, what all of us in Kokua Hawaii are most proud of, that we were first to fight the system, so to speak, and help people realize that if they can beat the Bishop Estate, then there's also there's hope, and that's what we brought. I think we brought hope. We didn't change Bishop Estate immediately, but the issues that we brought up certainly led to the demise of Bishop Estate, and so they changed their business practices as far as evicting people. They certainly changed the pay scale for the trustees, so more monies are going to the school and the outreach program. So I think all of us in Kokua Hawaii are proudest of that fact, that again, we fought Bishop Estate, but we made Kamehameha schools better, and we made the state of Hawaii better.
I was at a rally at for San Island, Moka'i Island.
Right.
And I remember Soli Nahiu.
Right.
He was speaking on behalf of, he was representing Kokua Hawaii.
Right.
And one of the things he said was that, that these struggles were not only for Hawaiians, but for the working people of Hawaii.
Exactly.
And so I think that strong sense of class, I think, was such an important contribution.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying that there was a lot of struggle within Kokua Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
About that.
Right.
But it seemed like that was a more appropriate kind of a.
Yeah, I think eventually Kokua Hawaii, because we did not, we were not per se a pure Native Hawaiian organization, but we were Hawaiians at heart organization. That left room
Local.
for a lot of the other organizations that came after that. That they could be purely Native Hawaiians like OHA, but Kokua Hawaii was really more of a working class struggle, if you will. So, you know, farmers, low income, middle income people fighting the landlords, you know, just getting more land rights for local people. So,
Do you think there's an organization? Because Kokua Hawaii right now is not really functional right now.
No.
I mean, there's ex-members and there's the idea that.
right.
Do you find, or do you feel that there's an organization right now that would express more of an approach of the working people of Hawaii, or do you think that or do you think that maybe there's a need for something like that?
Well, I think, you know, there's so much there's a lot of political groups now, so, you know, that take issue and support different issues. So yeah, you know, Kokua Hawaii is defunct, but you know, the seeds we planted are still growing and thriving. You know, look at John Witeck's organization, but Hawaii People's Fund is, you know, not a direct offshoot from Kokua Hawaii, but you know, they were actually founded at the same time, and John was certainly a big part of the support of Kokua Hawaii. You know, he was part of more for SDS, but he understood that as a mainland haole he couldn't be part, but he certainly supported us, and you know, and he formed his own organization, and he's still viable. The Hawaii People's Fund is supporting a lot of organizations that in communities that do a lot of different things. You know, I know they still do some work in Miloli'i. Yeah, so you know, it's still thriving. Again, the things that we did in the early 70s and mid 70s with Kokua Hawaii, all the offshoots and the stimulus that we gave to the Native Hawaiian movement, again, I believe are recognized. You know, you talk to the Native Hawaiian members and leaders, they certainly appreciate what Kokua Hawaii did. Yeah, the old print shop,
yeah.
right, that was Kokua Hawaii, and that's
okay.
where we printed Huli Kako, the newspaper.
Yeah.
So that was our office, and for the newspaper and the organization.
Yeah, that thing is still there.
Yeah, the building is still there, and I think it's back to a grocery store.
Yeah, right. I think it's called Family Mart or something
Right,
like that.
something like that. But yeah, that's where we were located some 40 years ago.
The story I heard about that is when it was, I wasn't here at that time, but I heard that you folks had to re-roof the thing and you put the tar paper wrong or something.
Right, yeah.
Oh, you remember that?
I remember
And then when the rain
leaking,
came-
yep. It still leak, you know, no talent.
Instead of starting from the bottom, you guys start from
Yeah.
the top, right? And
Yeah, we were, as they say, intellectuals, you know,
you
not
learn by mistakes.
hands-on kind as far as building trade, but Soli should have known better. But
Yeah.
I don't know, he wasn't, I guess he wasn't involved with the re-roofing, that part.
No, I think that he was.
Oh,
That's the
okay,
story
well,
I heard.
So, okay, we can blame Soli, rest in peace.
But he was intellectual too.
Right,
So-
yeah. So, you know, it was fun. We had a lot of, intellectual guys, you know, Gwen and Dr. Choi and some of the other people, Mary
Duke
Choi.
Mary Choi.
Yeah, yep.
That was
yep,
my BB
so-
doctor.
Ah, okay. Yep, Duke Choi. So, yeah, you know, it's funny how how big the group was. We had a lot of periphery guys, you know, Reverend Larry White, you know, he was very active, Church of the Crossroads. So, you know, we had a lot of support in the community, you know, and a lot of financial support. Again, the Johnsons, they were big financial supporters. Again, Kama'aina haules that realized, you know, while they couldn't be in the forefront, they financially and morally supported Kokua Hawaii. You know, because they recognized the value at that time. It was a class struggle, so to speak. So, you know, I think that's the contribution as far as raising the consciousness, raising the courage for some people to get involved and start their own organizations to fight the system, if you will. Those are the fruits that we're most proud of. I think, you know, after the struggle, quite candidly, you know, it was exhausting, you know, and then, you know, you become a realist, so to speak. Hate to say it, but then you need to support yourself. So you know, when I was in college, I initially was in the travel industry management program. I got out of it because, you know, at that time, travel industry was the enemy. So you know, I changed my major to marketing. But the ironic thing was, when I graduated, it took me 7 years to graduate because I was always either politically involved with Kokua Hawaii and I was working. So I was a part-time student. So it took me 7 years to graduate. But when I finally graduated, I started in travel. So kind of contradictory, but that my marketing degree. So I was actually sales rep for Kahaleotin and for Sea Life Park and Gray Line. So
you must have felt some kind of contradiction.
Oh yeah, you know, contradiction, guilt, but had to make a living.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
you know, I tried to do the right things when I was in travel. I think the thing I'm proud of as far as being in travel and in Sea Life Park, you know, we created educational programs at Sea Life Park for schools. Miles Kinoshita and I, my old fraternity and college guys, we were both Sea Life Park reps, and so we helped nurture and foster the school educational trips to Sea Life Park. And when I was Gray Line, I started the first cultural classes to help with the bus drivers to make sure that their narration was properly correct for Gray Line tours. So, you know, in my own small way, I tried to keep true to the moral values of it. So politically, no, I did not continue, but I think culturally, you know, after I left travel industry, I went into banking, and I can say I'm most proud of when I was at Bank of Hawaii. I was the public relations director, and I was able to promote and fund the Slack Key concert with the Department of City Parks and Rec. I knew Melton Lau from before. They were in dire straits, so if I did not come up with the money, the Slack Key concert would have gone down. So I was able to come up with the funds from my department and fund that thing. Same thing with the Molokai Hoi race. I was a paddler with Waikiki Surf Club. Again, because of my experience with Kokua Hawaii, you know, I became an outrigger paddler. So I got to know the membership and leadership of OCRA, you know, Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association. So they came to me, Mike Tong came to me and said, you know, we really need money. If we don't come up with money, the Molokai race will end. So I was able to come up with funds from my department. Actually, Milton Holt was the community relations director, so he got the credit, but my department funded it. I came up with the proposal, Milton Holt got the credit, but it was my money and my proposal that saved the Slack Key concert and the Molokai canoe race. So yeah, you know, in my own way, I try to perpetuate the culture.
So you're still being an activist in
right,
way.
in that way. So I'm proud to say that because of those two actions, I can say the Slack Key concert is still in existence. The Molokai race is still in existence because from what I was told, if they didn't get money those years, those two events would have been dropped. You know, I can't address the nation as beyond my scope. You know, but you know, state of Hawaii, it's tough. I think we just need to be, you know, be more careful as far as looking at protecting the environment. You know, being realistic about treating the āina and the ocean with respect. So those issues are, you know, beyond my scope.
Do you feel like being involved in the Kalama Valley struggle, of course, and stuff, or going to school the time you went, the social situation helped you, of course, helped your understanding of that, or would you have done it another way?
Well, no, I mean, you know, it's part of life experience. So, like I said, you know, I'm glad to be a part of Kokua Hawaii. Again, you know, it fostered and nurtured, I believe, you know, the Hawaiian movement. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And again, all you need to do is look at the leadership of the various Native Hawaiian groups, and you look at, you know, if you talk to them, they, you know, maybe not openly, but they will recognize, again, you know, the seeds of what Kokua planted. You know, it started with Kokua Hawaii, you know, moved on to the various land struggles on the neighbor islands. You know, it continued on with, you know, Protect Koho'olave, you know, and the Hawaiian music renaissance came about. And then, you know, the Native American, you know, Native Hawaiian movement came about. So yeah, all of that, you know, was basically the same time or came after, you know, Kokua Hawaii. So I think, you know, again, those are the seeds we planted and we're most proud.
Do you think that the current, let's say the Native Hawaiian movement here is too nationalistic? Do you think that, it's going in a good course? Or do you feel maybe there should be more of inclusion, maybe perhaps of other, you know, like for example, you know, the whole struggles that was going on in Kokua Hawaii, about being more pure Hawaiian, or you know, incorporating more the local people, you know, people who have a common kind of, let's say, culture.
Right.
And that will be the terms of the community.
Right. Well, you know, it's tough. Again, the Native Hawaiian movement, unfortunately, is so fractionalized. You know, it's the proverbial saying about the crabs in the bucket. So, you know, yeah, you gotta leave it to them to fix themselves. You know, OHA and all the other splinter groups. You know, it's tough. It's something they need to look at. It's something we need to come together. They need to unite as a nation. Very difficult task. You know, it hasn't happened in centuries. I don't think we'll see it. I don't think I'll see it in my lifetime, unfortunately. But there's hope. I think the biggest thing besides fostering and nurturing the movement is giving hope, you know, and that's what that's probably the best thing is, yeah, you just got to be hopeful and be positive. You know, the world at large, unfortunately, there's so much crises, you know, with North Korea, with Russia, you know, it's tough. It's a divided and polarized world, so I just hope that you just got to treat people, you know, respect, you know, and that's all we can hope for. You know, recognize that we're all human beings. Everybody has a right to be on this planet, right to live with clean water, clean air, housing, health care, you know, there's only one planet, you know, and we just got to protect, you know, what Hokulea did. I strongly believe in. We got to take care of the planet. You know, with the pigs and being arid and not being able to grow anything out there. But, you know, again, it was a lot of fun. the nightly meetings, the educational meetings we had. Till the arrests, we were always there. And then after arrest, I think it was, you had very limited access as far as number of people that could actually be on site with George per the court order. But before then, I think there must have been 30 or 40 people camped out every night. But after the order, you know, it was very restricted as far as overnight stays. So the first part was a lot of fun because, you know, that's when we were all there and all struggling and all trying to formulate the policies and the philosophy of Kokua Hawaii. And after the arrest, that changed, but you know, we became more of a formal organization. But yeah, tough to recollect 50 years ago.
Kimo was talking about having these political education sessions.
Right. Oh yeah, I mean, you know, that was part of it, you know, and again, you know, part of it again at the university and Kokua Hawaii was the Little Red Book by Chairman Mao, you know, and yeah, hard to, I don't remember all of it, but I still have my Little Red Book. I'm sure all of it. Still have my beret and still have my pins and don't have the posters, but still mementos from Kokua Hawaii.
You still have the beret?
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, I know.